if you're on an HMO, you cannot go out of the network unless it's an urgent care situation or emergency room situation. Those cases you can go anywhere you want, actually anywhere in the world. But if it's non-emergency, non-urgent care, you've got to stay within your network. So one of the big differences between original Medicare with a supplemental plan and an Advantage plan will be networks. You recall with original Medicare, we didn't have a network. Anyone that took Medicare, you can go anywhere that you want, any hospital, any doctor, any surgeon. But when it comes to Advantage plans, there will always be a network. And you have two types of networks, HMO or PPO. We describe the HMO network with a smaller box. Why? Because there will be less options with the HMO network than the PPO. Now sometimes the HMO is going to have lower copays and lower max out of pocket. But again, you're going to be restricted because you won't have as many doctors to choose from. Now, it doesn't mean you won't have plenty to choose from, but there will be less than the PPO. All right. Now, another difference would be HMOs sometimes require that you see your primary care doctor in order to see a specialist. They have to make the referral. PPO plans do not require that at all. They just say, call your specialist up and make an appointment. All right. The other difference would be out of network. If you're on an HMO, you cannot go out of the network unless it's an urgent care situation or emergency room situation. Those cases you can go anywhere you want, actually anywhere in the world. But if it's non-emergency, non-urgent care, you've got to stay within your network. Now the PPO is different. We can go out of network. Okay, we have the option to be able to do that. Now when we go out of network, it may cost us a little bit more money on a copay or max out of pocket, but the point is we do have the privilege to go out of the network if we're on a PPO plan. Now as we compare these two, if I were going to compare this to original Medicare, the original Medicare network would be as large as this screen or larger because why? We only have to find out, do you take Medicare? But if we take an Advantage plan, again, now we're going to have some restrictions and some limitations because of these two types of networks. Now, one of the reasons that Advantage plans are attracted to some people is because they're very low or no monthly premiums. Now, remember, I still have to pay Medicare this year, my $170.10 a month, if I'm on the Advantage plan. But many of the companies don't charge any additional premium to be on that Advantage plan. And the reason for that, instead of charging a premium, what you're going to do is you're going to pay copays for most of the services that you're going to need on the Advantage plan until you hit a certain max out of pocket for the year. And again, the plans are going to vary whether it's an HMO or a PPO, and really depends upon what part of the country you're in as well. But the whole point is, instead of paying a premium, I'm going to pay copays instead. Now let's compare that to a supplemental plan. My supplemental plan, I'm going to have to pay Medicare A and B, and then I'm going to have to pay for that F plan or that G plan or that N plan. I'd say right now on average, most F plans are going to be in the neighborhood of about $175 to $200 a month. A G plan is going to be in the neighborhood of anywhere from like $125 to $150 a month. An N plan is going to probably be somewhere between about $90 to $125 a month. So these are premiums that I have to pay for my supplemental plan that if I take an Advantage plan, I don't have to, right? Now, with my supplemental plan, I pay a premium and I'm pretty well done. But with the Advantage plan, I don't have to pay these premiums, but I'm not done until I've hit this kind of a max out of pocket. So I pay copays until I hit that max. And then what happens is that annual max is going to reset every January, and then again, we start the process over again. So let's take a quick look at some of the copays. Hey, just real quick before we get to the next part of the video, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, or put a comment there in the section below and ask any questions that you would like us to address. And then just one more thing, you'll find down below in the description, there's some links there where you actually can schedule an appointment to talk to one of our Medicare guides. So if you need further advice, look at all your options, we'd be happy to help with that as well. On most plans, to be able to see your primary care doctor, it will be a zero copay, on the high side $10. A specialist visit, this would be your cardiologist, your orthopedic doc, maybe OBGYN or dermatologist, anywhere between $25 to $50. Preventive services will be zero, just like it would be in original Medicare. Now, I want to point out this one right here, urgent care and emergency room. Remember, this is the one place that you never worry about network. You can go wherever you want to in the world, and all you're responsible for would be a very, very reasonable copay. Test labs, x-rays, if it's part of preventive, it would be $0, upwards to $50 in a copay. If I have an MRI, a CAT scan, or a PET scan, $200 to $400 per test on those. Outpatient surgery could be a knee replacement, could be cataract surgery, maybe gallbladder removal, those types of things, a hernia operation. And when I have that situation, I just pay a flat copay, and that's going to cover everything that happens in that surgical center. That would be the surgeon, the anesthesiologist, the nursing services, as well as the facility fee, all covered by that reasonable copay. And then lastly, I want to mention hospital stays. Remember, on original Medicare, we had a deductible that we're responsible for. We can get a supplemental plan to cover that deductible, but what happens on Advantage plans is we have a daily copay. And again, this is going to vary throughout the country, but on average, it's about $350 a day. And then what that plan will do is they'll set a limit as to how many days you have to pay. Some stop at 5, some stop at 6, some 9, some 12. It varies for sure. But the whole point is I have this daily copay I'm responsible for, and that daily copay while I'm in the hospital covers everything that I need that day. Could be 2 doctors, could be surgery, could be 3 MRIs, it could be whatever, and that $350 will cover all services that day in the hospital. Now, one thing about this is this would be each hospitalization. And so if I'm in the hospital in March for 5 days, it's going to cost me, what would that be, $1,750. And I'm in the hospital again in October for 3 days, it's going to cost me $1,050. For each hospitalization, I'm responsible for the daily copay until I hit that limit. Once I've hit the limit for that hospitalization, it'll be $0 thereafter. So as you can see, we pay as we go. So you have 3 different ways in which you can get a Medicare insurance product. Number 1, you can call a call center. These are the 1-800 dial-in agents. Most of the companies that are very large that send you mail and advertise on TV, this is what they want you to do, to call the call center. Now, the problem with the call center is this. I would say that for every 3 agents that's in a call center that's answering calls, 1 of them is very competent, and the other 2 of 3 are going to be still in training. And so you just never know what you're going to get. Every time you call in, you get a different agent. A lot of times these call centers transfer you around, and so it can be very, very cumbersome in dealing with call centers, but that is an option for you. All right. Now, number 2, you can use what's called a captive agent. Now, a captive agent actually works for 1 company. That's it. Now, in most markets, we're going to have 10 to 15 different companies to choose from, lots of different plans. So when you work with a captive agent, they represent 1 company. They're an employee of that particular insurance company, and all the big companies have their captive agents. Now, the problem is when you go this direction, they may be educated well and understand Medicare, but the problem is it's a limited amount of products they're going to show you. And of course, every captive agent says they're going to have the best, and we know that's not true. But the whole point is 1 company, and we're going to have this limited portfolio, but that is an option for sure. And then when it comes to number 3, you can use what we are, and that is an independent broker, and others like us have chosen. We don't want to be captive. We don't want to work for just 1 company, certainly not a call center for sure. We're independent brokers, and so what we do is we look at all the options, and so we bring every option to the table. Certainly we don't write for every single company. That would be impossible for any independent broker to do that, but we write for most of them. Most of the large carriers that you'd be interested in, independent broker is going to do that. So here's my whole point. No matter who you go with, 1, 2, or 3, the price to you is always the same. Why is that? Well, because the agents don't set the premiums. It's the companies that set the premium. So the price is always the same to you regardless of who you use. Secondly, it will not cost you any extra to use any of these because you never pay the agent. It's the insurance company that has to pay the agent. We are paid by them and not by our clients. And so no matter who you go with, the price is always the same and there's no additional cost whatsoever. Now, we have chosen this path because we like to give lots of options because one size does not fit all. But again, the price is all the same to you and the commission's paid by the company.